All right, so today on the Breakfast Club, R&B singer Kehlani had an interview where she discusses many things, including motherhood, her activism work, and most importantly for me, music. Right off the bat, from the very beginning of the interview, we see that Kehlani is sort of like in a new place in her life where she's setting healthy boundaries, and she is clearly a person who's extremely practices empathy and cares and loves and puts humanity first above money, fame, or anything else. She makes that extremely clear throughout the interview. So that was refreshing to see right off the bat. A superstar with a #1 hit right now on the radio, just being so people first driven and everything that she talked about. Extremely refreshing. So back to the music. She touched on two kind of really interesting musical topics, and I have my notes here again that I want to discuss. The first musical topic that she touches on is this subject of AI music. So DJ Envy asked her about specifically AI artists and what's her take on all of this. And her first part of the answer, she starts off with first talking about the impact of artificial intelligence on the environment. This is something very good to hear, because this is not a topic that we see a lot of people discussing. We don't hear a lot about these buildings that are these huge buildings that are being constructed and are just not good for the environment. So again, her putting people and humanity first with all her answers, and this is a classic example of that. Next, she goes and says something very profound that myself as a musician and a music lover, I totally agree with. She says that God, music is a gift from God. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what she says. She's saying that there's a divine aspect to music. It is a gift that is given to us. I totally agree with her. I know a lot of people on the internet, you go and you see videos about AI destroying music and this and that. And that just will never happen. That will never happen. There's something about the human experience and the way that humans express and document that experience through the medium of music that makes it unique. That's something that AI does not have the capacity, or will never have the capacity to really live that experience, because if you study philosophy or religion, you know that humans aren't just the physical, we're also the emotional and the spiritual, and those elements of our humanity is heavily influenced and affected by our experience as humans, how we interact with each other, how we commune. She uses the word commune a lot. How we care for each other, etc. And that's been one of the things that, for those of you who are sort of like history people, if you really study history, that's one of the things that kind of has helped humans survive throughout time, is this idea of us having this common experience that we call life, and coming together to kind of like overcome obstacles throughout time. So it was a very interesting take. So even though she does talk about the element of music being a divine thing that's given to us from God, and AI not really being able to replicate the human experience, she does talk about AI's ability to kind of make the creative process easier. For example, there was a part in the interview where she talks about she wouldn't be mad at her engineer if they use AI to kind of help them finish an idea or help them sort of keep the flow of the creative process going. But at the end of the day, her sort of like big take on AI and music is that AI artists, at the end of the day, she does believe that they are a threat to creativity and the livelihood of real musicians. And again, this is her always putting humans first. So she's not so much worried about of like, ooh, AI is going to be able to make music better than us or beat us. She's more, because in her eyes, music is something given to us from God. In her eyes, she's more worried about like, hey, that engineer that that AI might put out of place, that musician that AI might take work away from them, and now they can no longer sustain themselves, or that lyric or that instrumental or orchestration that AI borrowed from and didn't give credit to. So I thought it was a extremely profound take on AI and music, because we live in a society where people don't view music through the lens of like, hey, this is a medium, a profound medium. Music is a profound medium that talks about the human experience, and the human experience, not just the physical, but also the emotional and the spiritual. So I thought that was an extremely profound take, and extremely empathetic, and empathetic take, as far as her worrying about, not so much the competitive aspect of it, but the effects it's going to have on people's creators' livelihood. Next topic that is brought up towards the end of the interview is they ask her who is on Kehlani's Mount Rushmore of R&B Vocalist. Now, if you know, she has the song Folded Out that's they were saying is currently #1 on Billboards, and you have all sorts of vocalists covering her song, which, if you're a musician, particularly if you're a composer, to have your peers and other artists cover your song and kind of like add their own twist to it, that's really like the highest form of flattery. Like, them thinking that your song and your creation is so interesting and so great that they want to take the time and have fun with it. That's like, in musician world, that's like the highest form of respect. And Kehlani, with this new song Folded, she has had some of the best R&B singers on the planet cover it. But they ask her who is on her Mount Rushmore of R&B singers, and here's who she says. She says Beyonce, Monica. So when she says that, they start laughing, because we know the Beyonce Monica beef, or alleged thing. And then she also brings up Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, which I'm not mad at that Mount Rushmore within the context of her being a 30-year-old. And if we're talking about from the 90s to now, we're talking about megastars who had huge mainstream success and were also extremely gifted vocalists. Yeah, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Monica, Beyonce, those are sort of like, no-brainers. But I was a little bit surprised, but not too much. I give her respect of her age. She didn't really go into like the Patti LaBelle's, Aretha Franklin, Shaka Khan. She didn't really mention them. I think any of them, especially Aretha Franklin. Definitely, I was a little bit shocked that she didn't bring up anybody older than Whitney Houston. And then also, I guess I was a little also more shocked that she didn't at least try to name any of her contemporaries. For example, like Jasmine Sullivan. Even though Jasmine Sullivan has been in the game a little bit longer than Kehlani, is still within like her generation. And for many people, Jasmine Sullivan is like, a lot of people consider her to have some of the best vocal runs. Like vocally, some of the runs that she does, people think they are like some of the most creative, and even just like athletically with your vocals and all that, like Jasmine Sullivan does some incredible things. Another honorable mention from, I guess, like current times is Lala Hathaway. Again, I know Lala Hathaway is not really like a contemporary of Kehlani, but they are within the same generation. Lala Hathaway is literally doing things with vocals that people didn't think were possible. She's an innovator. So it was a very interesting thing to see her kind of take like the obvious, clean cut take of Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Beyonce, and Monica, which, I guess one could interpret that as her just taking like a safe answer, but like with the current conversation of Monica and Beyonce, I don't know if that was like necessarily her giving a safe answer. If she genuinely thinks that's who should be on a Mount Rushmore, and maybe she's not aware of these other things. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, music's subjective. Everyone's entitled to their own Mount Rushmore. But I just thought it was interesting her not bringing up anyone older than Whitney Houston or any of her contemporaries. Overall, though, I thought it was a great interview. Beyond music, it showed her care, her profound care for humans and humanity, her level of empathy and compassion for humans and people. I think that speaks way beyond music, and it's easy through that interview to see that she's on a different wavelength, where she's not doesn't seem to be caught up in the moment of having a hit song or anything like that. She's very passionate about the things. She's very sure about the things that she believes in, and she's very passionate about it. And she's very articulate and to the point when it comes to talking about those things. So yeah, I really enjoyed the interview. You should check it out and let me know what you thought of it. All right, peace.